Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning if you're joining us from the US or North America. I'm Ramachandran. I cover South Asia for Variety, and I'll be moderating this panel. And today's topic of discussion is going to be Come Film in India, which is facilitated by Frames and NFDC and a bunch of other government organizations, and which is part of the Cannes Virtual Pavilion. And for obvious reasons, we are in a virtual pavilion. So I'm very pleased to say that we have a very distinguished and high-powered panel of people with us, including TCA Kalyani, who is the Managing Director of the National Film Development Corporation of India and the Joint Secretary Films. And we have Dr. Jawale, who is from the Odisha Film Development Board, and we have Michael Ward, producer, writer extraordinaire. We have Pravesh Sahni, who is with India Take one of the foremost line producers with offices in the US and India. Similarly, Dileep Singh Rathore, another line producer with offices in India and LA. And last but not the least, the irrepressible Vikramjit Roy, who heads up the film facilitation office of the NFDC. So can we jump right in with Kalyani ma'am?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure for me to be here, virtually at least. Kuchna sahi to virtually to kaan mein hai, as they say in India. So we just had the inaugural of the India Pavilion by the Honorable Minister. It was a virtual inauguration at 4 o'clock. And so we are open. India is open for business, for filming in India. Many of our states have also permitted, in the COVID situation, many of the states have permitted filming based on restriction, on following certain guidelines and precautions to be taken. So for us in India, films in India is an inherent part of our soul, I would say, because our art and culture and everything that we have in the creative world, we can trace it back to our Natya Shastra, which is the treatise on all creatives, on the creative thing in India. So for, and any state in India, watching a movie is a favorite pastime. So you really have a 1 billion population which is waiting to look at the films that are there. So, and you see, it's not just the filming. So if you film in India, we are offering a lot of, we will be offering incentives also to come filming in India. The processing in the government has already, as the Joint Secretary of Films, I can say that we have processed the work for the Champion Sector scheme, where we'll be giving a lot of concessions for shooting in India, for co-productions in India. In the last, I think 2016, since 2016, we've had over 118 films that have been shot in India. And Vikramjit is here. He would bear me out that it has been over a host of countries who have come and shot in India. So I look forward to, I will make it very short because I'd much rather hear the views of people here. I met up with Mr. Rathore when Christopher Nolan had shot in India and Mumbai. So it's good to see you at least. So it is, we are, I mean, I am a very hopeful person, and I'm looking forward to having, more of filming in India and more of Indian content, and, the rest of it is there. I look forward to hearing all of you, your views on this, and also if any tweaking of our policies is required. Many of our states have their own filming policies also, for the concessions that are there for shooting in the respective states. We are a federal setup. So that is also available for, and of course, like I said once when I had to make a presentation on India's tourism, I said you just need one visa for whatever locale that you want. You want the islands, you have it. You want the crowds, you have it. You have the mountains. She's bold, she's beautiful. You have the wildlife, you have the ocean, you have just about any locale that you want. You just need one visa, and we facilitated a film visa. So for us, that is very, very, it's very easy for people to come and film in India. and we will take it forward and streamline the process more. Vikramjit will tell us what is there, what is it that we are planning. But I'd like to hear the states also. Nitin, it's very nice to see you here. Welcome to the Cannes Festival here. Pravesh, Khan, Sahni ji, all of you. I'm so glad that we could have this thing happening. So over to you, Naman.
Yeah, so before we start off, housekeeping for the audience. If you have any questions, please enter them in the Q&A box, which is at the bottom of your screen, and I'll be able to see them. And then if we have time at the end of the session, we'll take a few questions. So going back to Kalyani ma'am, you mentioned the incentives for international productions shooting in India, and these have been they were teased in Cannes 2019, and it was also mentioned at the Film Bazaar in November 2019. And so when can we expect these incentives to go live?
As soon as the regular shooting starts in the country, we should be able to announce it shortly. The announcement is what is all we're waiting for. And given the crisis that the country is going through, we thought that, okay, let's just wait. But the decision making is almost, in governments also, despite the COVID, we've had virtual sessions of meetings, etc. And it's almost three. We're just waiting for the appropriate time to announce. Let the pandemic kind of settle down, out, and then we can announce it. That is what we are planning.
Great. That should be heartening news for producers around the world who are just waiting to shoot in India. And I have one more question for you, ma'am. Over the last few weeks, several states in India have published their own set of guidelines to shoot post-pandemic, and some states have already started, like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, Andhra,
Maharashtra also as well.
Maharashtra, Andhra, Telangana. So from an FFO perspective, if I'm an international producer wanting to shoot in India, will there be a kind of consolidated set of rules available with the FFO?
Yes, we are working on it, like from the Government of India, sorry to butt in, from the Government of India, we are also issuing consolidated guidelines, because each state has a specific set of guidelines which are there, which is like Maharashtra, as I've looked at it, it is very, very detailed on how you go about it. So we would like to come out with a more general kind of a guideline, and I should, before this weekend, the week gets over, I think we should be in a position to release the guidelines. So maybe as part of the Cannes listing itself, we can announce it too. Okay, so we will be coming out with a more general guideline of what is happening, what we need to do for shooting in the country.
So I'm just going to move to Dr. Jawale now. Now, part of what the FFO does is, apart from central permission, there are also nodal officers in every single territory of India. Now, for those who don't know a nodal officer, if the term is not familiar, it is a point person in each state to help facilitate the shoot in that particular state. Now, Dr. Jawale, you've said that Odisha also has a film policy. And so, for example, if I want to shoot in Odisha, and if I'm a producer from the US, and I first approach the FFO, then what happens next?
Okay, like if you are a producer and you want to like kind of shoot in Odisha, like we have very recently entered into this whole, I'm promoting our state as a film shooting destination as well. So we have come up with a policy. I'll just take a minute to tell you about the policy, how important it is. It's that for the first time in our history, we came up with a policy. That itself is a very important event for us. And we had the advantage of learning from many other states. Now we have some inherent disadvantage when it comes to like, attracting filmmakers of other languages, Hindi or international, that we don't fit into the mainstream Bollywood script. Okay, I mean, that could be any state in northern India, or for that matter, some place like Bangalore or say Kolkata can do fit, but like, Odisha doesn't fit into it. So taking all these things into account, we have come up with a policy that is pretty lucrative. Now, when it comes to facilitation at the ground level, of course, I am the nodal officer for that. In case anybody would like to shoot in Odisha, the one person they have to contact is me. Okay. I mean, we are building capacities down the line, but as of now, it's me. And we are looking forward to like empower one person, a person who is in charge of Kalinga Studio, a very good asset that we have in our state, to be that facilitation officer for film shooting also. So it's that, I mean, the structure has been laid down and we are very enthusiastic about getting films. We have some of the most lucrative provisions in our policy. It's not just about the quantum of money that we are offering in terms of subsidy, but a whole lot of things. I mean, the entire machinery of the state government would like kind of cooperate or help a producer if he or she wants to make films in Odisha. So this is how we stand.
And Dr. Jawale, can you, for those of us who don't know, when people think of India, they'll immediately equate palaces in Rajasthan or the Taj Mahal, etc. So can you tell us briefly what Odisha has to offer? Because, I mean, I know, but for the benefit of people who don't, in terms of locations and everything.
I mean, it's like kind of privilege for me to kind of explain all these things. In fact, as you rightly pointed out, whenever be it in India or especially abroad, for them, India, I mean, what the things that come to the mind is places like Taj Mahal, Rajasthan, or Delhi, Mumbai, place like that. Odisha featuring in the mind is something that like, we have to put a lot of effort to do that. Now, the easiest thing to do that is like, collaborate with the tourism department. And that's what we done. And that's a kind of sensible step our government took. That tourism is kind of 50-50 partner when it comes to film promotion also, in the sense that they are also the ones who would get the maximum benefit out of it. So we are partnering with the tourism department, and when it comes to whatever publicity the tourism department is doing for the state, whatever the way it is trying to like highlight the key points or the salient features, or like the tourist destinations, or that could be very well the film shooting destinations also, we are kind of partnering with them. Now, what we have to offer, Odisha is one of the most underrated destinations in the country, and the blame is squarely on us. I mean, no one else is responsible for that. We haven't really told the world what we are. Now, it's we call it India's best kept secret, in the sense that it is one of the few states in the country which has almost all types of topography other than the Himalayan mountains. So we have mountains, the Eastern Ghat ranges, we have a long coastline, and we have a very rich culture, art, and we are very proficient in art and all, and a huge tribal mosaic that we have, mosaic of tribal cultures. All this goes on to make a very different settings for film shooting. Now, I have always, in a personal capacity, accused Bollywood of being partisan when it comes to places and whole locales. So by and large, Bollywood has largely concentrated in places like Mumbai, Delhi, and of late they have been concentrating on the Hindi heartland. But they haven't really been very much experimental when it comes to places like Odisha, okay, which has some very unique features. We have some unique biodiversity hotspots, lakes like Chilka. Our coastline is one of the most serene and undisturbed, and so on. So we, on our part, are trying our best to be film worthy, but then also there has to be some kind of mechanism, particularly at the level of Government of India, to promote such offbeat destinations also. I mean, like, people would be like sick and tired of seeing Goa always when it comes to a tourist destination. Just as that way, people would be like kind of seeing the same destinations over and over again. So new destinations have to be tried. And we are like, when we are one of the rich tourist state, I mean, like from tourist potential point of view, we might as well turn out to be a very rich state when it comes to film shooting. This is what we are looking at. This is what the way we are trying to promote our state as a film shooting destination.
Thank you, Dr. Jawale. So if I may, Michael, I'll move to you now. Michael?
Yes, hello.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Michael is a well-known writer, producer. He's produced the Far Pavilions in the London's West End, and he recently produced a film in India called Bambariya, which you can watch on Netflix. So Michael, what do you have planned for India next? What productions do you have lined up?
Well, excitingly, since my association with the Far Pavilions, which is for those generations who have not read the book, is a #1 bestseller in the world in 1979. It was made into a television miniseries in 1983, and I adapted it for the West End stage in 2005 and produced it in London. So I have television rights to the book and several adaptations of it, and the plan is to make the Far Pavilions as a long-running, returning series. It is set in Rajasthan in 1878, 1879, with flashbacks to 1858. So it's a period piece. It's action, but more than anything, it is a grand love story between a British officer and a Rajput princess. Now, it was written by a lady who spent 50 years in India, MMK. I got to know her in the last 6 years of her life. So I have the television rights, and we are actually in discussions with a major studio that I can't name yet, about making this as a series with several seasons. So conceptually, this could be 10 episodes per year for up to 6 years. Now, that was a vast undertaking between the UK, the US, and India. So it should be a co-production, because the exciting thing, I'm India born and raised anyway, so I'm actually talking to you from Delhi. It's really exciting for me to think of how authentically this can be made, with all the actors and technicians and everyone whose skills are at a global level. It breaks my heart to think of shooting some of this in Morocco or South Africa. It really does break my heart. I'm born in Assam, and to hear that Morocco has a 20% tax rebate, and I'm very thrilled to hear Kalyani ma'am say that there is an incentive on its way, because we've all been waiting for this for quite a long time. It could actually be a clincher in our case to actually get all of the filming in India, which would be massive for the economy and for the skill sets of all the artists and technicians working here.
Okay, so on a practical level, say you're fully funded, your studios have come through, and you've got your India locations. Now, what's your next step? I mean, please speak from the point of view of someone who's not shot in India before, and to help them through. I'll be going to Pravesh and Dileep in a minute, but from a producer's point of view, how would you approach it practically?
I mean, so practically, then we would look for an Indian partner, and ideally a co-producer, to possibly take the Indian territory of a global series. So this would be made for the world. It would be financed out of America and the UK. India should make, I think, a contribution to it so that it has a seat at the table. It's very, very important that it is a creative co-production, and not just come and shoot in India and leave. See, with a returning television series of this magnitude, it really has to bed down for a number of years. So practically, from a practical point of view, we need 2 palaces, a fort, major action sequences. We're talking about the age of horses and camels and elephants and warfare. It's the second Afghan war, so it's 1878 to 1879. But it flashes back to the uprising of 1857, 1858, when our hero is born. So he's born during a war, a rupture, and the series goes to the very end where another war is taking place. Practically, we need to lock down locations for potentially an extended period of time. So we need film-friendly states and film-friendly owners of palaces and forts and those kind of, and desert areas and mountains to replicate Afghanistan in that period. I think India has everything to offer, all kinds of landscapes to offer, that very minimal shooting should happen elsewhere. But I'm not the one financing it. I'm the one at the table arguing to shoot in India. But there are challenges. Historically, there have been challenges, great challenges. And coming to shoot a film in India for 40 days, 30 days, or 50 days, and leaving, you kind of need one kind of planning. To come and shoot for years on end, you need a whole kind of like a family kind of relationship with the states, with the ministry, with the unions also, because I don't know what the incentive level will be, or whether it will apply to television series as well as film. I do hope so, but maybe your panelists can elaborate a bit on that. But that's probably the biggest UK, US, India bit of creative undertaking ever done. And, I'd be really proud if it all happened in India, if possible.
Thanks, Michael. So that brings us neatly to Pravesh. Michael said two things that I picked up on, and that applies to you, Pravesh. One is obviously the sense of family, which both India Take One and OTR have been providing for quite a long time. The second thing that I picked up on was, Michael bemoaning the fact that, Morocco stands in for India and that should not be happening. So recently you were involved in Extraction, where Bangladesh was recreated in India. So can you talk about that experience a bit?
Firstly, I wish everybody to stay safe, their families to stay safe in hard times, because we've had a hard time. Vikram is aware of it. We had to shut two productions, one on March 14th and one on March 20th. We are literally in two pre-production and production stages which we had to shut down, and we want to come back as fast as we can. And like you're talking about Extraction, I was getting back to what Michael was saying, that we are making a TV series, The Bear, based on the book Shantaram. And that also is supposed to be what Michael is saying, that the plan was to shoot it 5 years, 10 episodes every year, stuff like that. So yes, we do need that family relationship in every city for sure. And what Kalyani man has promised or has said, the incentives are going to be a big boost. Otherwise, they always keep looking at Australia, Thailand, and when you talk about Extraction, they went to Thailand because of incentives, and that we did not have real formats to shoot. They wanted to do stunts with helicopters, which we don't have in India. We have got permission now to shoot with the helicopters. Unfortunately, we don't have trained pilots to do stunts. Yes, we have created Bangladesh in Ahmedabad, and if you've seen the 30 Captain British film, we created Pakistan in Chandigarh, Jawale, which became a super movie. We also created Pakistan for Michael Winterbottom's movie, The Wedding Guest. We are right now also in touch with two other production houses and studios where they want to come and shoot in India because they feel safer in India than our neighbors. So I would, this incentive thing is going to be a big thing for us, and even, in topic like Dr. Jawale said, nodal officers in the city, that when we up boards of our neighboring countries. People shouldn't get offended. There shouldn't be any agitation. It's just a film. We are trying to recreate. They need to be, we need the government to support us. That this is when the government gives us the permission to support at the local level to explain to the people that it's just a film shoot. It's not that we are doing something or we are creating something permanent. They went to Thailand for doing this, but otherwise it was a great experience, and you'll be all glad to know that it has had the highest number of on Netflix. So we've created a record there.
Great. Thanks, Pravesh. So moving to you, Dileep, you've also worked with some very high-profile filmmakers like Christopher Nolan, for example, who you've worked with twice now. Is that correct?
Yes, we did Batman and now we did Tenet.
Okay, there seems to be some connectivity issues with Dileep. So now tell me, when such a big production comes to India, the directors will have, a lot of expectations and demands. Like they may need planes to fly near the border, which is quite difficult to get permissions for, or shoot with X number of IMAX cameras. So on a practical level, let's start with permissions. Now you have the FFO, which is now a one-stop shop, and a website that with one click of a button you can see everything. So how do you liaise with the FFO? And the second part of the question is, how successful are you in being able to accommodate the director's demands?
First of all, hi everybody, and good to be on this panel. I want to say, first of all, thank you to FFO, particularly for my last project, Tenet, for Christopher Nolan. This project couldn't have happened without the help of FFO. Can you hear me, Naman?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Without the help of FFO and all the effort INB ministers put in, and also Principal Secretary Maharashtra, and because it was such a large film, that getting INB permission is one thing, that okay, we get the permission, and of course we talk about the location where we're shooting, and some locations like easy, a lot of people go to Rajasthan, which is regular stuff, you do dance and music or whatever. But a film like Tenet, which is very demanding, we're shooting in the middle of Bombay on high-rise building and shutting down half the city and asking for the major parking places and blocking the streets, and all of that it takes a lot of effort from the government and the local machinery to make this happen. So I'm glad that the government and INB ministry and FFO is like stepping up in providing all these facilities. All these international producers, they come to this country, and when they know the things will be done, and government is, as Pravesh said, and as everybody's talking about, Michael said as well. Like I remember like talking about Far Pavilions, and I was a kid and I was a frontliner in that, so which brings the old memories back. But any project of that magnitude, whether it's Shantram, which we were also doing earlier, or it's Far Pavilions or Tenet or any of those, they need not a simple permission from government, but a sense of like that the government will help them. Apart from the permissions, they will stand behind them. They will make things happen. Like we got the permission in Bombay. FFO was right through with us, but there was a lot of kind of difficulties we faced. Of course, they were overcome with the help of FFO and local, infrastructure. And Madam Kalyani was there; she visited the set. But what we are trying to say is that more than the permissions, we need the process to be streamlined. The process should be a streamlined process where it should not be something which you are like battling with to get each permission, whether it's sending the exposed film back or importing the real guns for the shoot, or for that matter, helicopter permission. Like that's been a bone of contention with all the film productions. Even on Batman, I had a huge issue of getting the permission, and permission was done a day before. I mean, they take 4 to 5 months. And similarly here on Tenet, we finally got the permission. And again, I cannot thank enough to the Film Facilitation Office in Delhi and Bombay. And, you know, they did miracle with that. But there should be a streamlined process where people, the international producers, they come, they know it's a business as usual. They go into a country, they bring a lot of money, a lot of jobs, a lot of revenue. And in return, they're getting full help from the local authorities and the central authorities, getting the correct permissions to shoot these films in a peaceful manner. Because we are just creating a time or recreating a story or doing something. We're not doing anything extraordinary. Like for any of the films to be shot, you need the full support of the government. So coming back again, I must say that that was a very pleasant experience. But if the FFO or the local Maharashtra government would have helped, this would have been a nightmare and would have sent a very bad message back to the studios internationally in Los Angeles, particularly, that India is a difficult place to shoot. In my last 15 years, almost 20 years now, of 25 years of shooting, things are getting better. The government is stepping in, trying to make things streamlined. They are doing every effort possible, which I saw very particularly in my last 3 projects, that how quickly we get the answers for any permissions or, any difficulties we have. But the liaison between the FFO or a film producer to the consulting agencies, whether it's a DGCA or it is a aviation or whatever, we need a proper understanding with the forest or archaeology or whatever, that this is for the film, this is for a particular job. And those things has to be more streamlined so things become easier, because most of the time we just waste so much of time and energy just thinking about these clearances rather than producing a film.
Thank you, Dileep. So I'll bring it back to Dr. Jawale, if I may. So you heard what Dileep said just now. Now, Odisha as a state has a lot of archaeological properties which are covered under the Archaeological Survey of India. So again, keeping it practical, because the topic is come film in India. So if someone approaches Pravesh or Dileep and say that we want to shoot in Odisha and these are the permissions we need, as a nodal officer, how quickly can you facilitate it, and what's the lead time that you require?
So this policy that we have itself covers, it talks about a single window facilitation cell for this, all sorts of permissions and whatever support is required for film shooting. My original designation is I am heading the Invest Odisha organization, which is a single window for the state for investment and whatever support is required for industry. So it's just we have set up another single window, for exclusively for film shooting. Now, we do understand that if we want to make some inroads into this game, then we have to be different as well as proactive. Any producer coming to us and having the slightest of the problems, there are some hassles in the way, we are not going to make it. We know it very well. So that aspect has been taken care very well by us. So we have made it a point that if somebody has to do some kind of film shooting in India, all they need to do is to apply through one form, which we are developing now. This one form is a common, it's a common utility form one has to fill. Once that is done, it is the responsibility of that single window to provide the necessary information or the approvals. In fact, it is not like only if we are facilitating, we are trying, helping the line producer to get those approval. It will be incumbent on us to get that approval for that producer. So we are working that these systems, but then frankly, it's easier said than done. There are a lot of problems and a lot of hiccups on the way that will come, and that are already coming. Now, particularly about these archaeological sites. Now, all these archaeological sites, most of them are taken care of by the Archaeological Survey of India, which is a Government of India organization. And it has been not exactly a painful experience, but nothing short of that to get them act or whatever approvals and permissions are required to shoot, even for the tourism purposes, when actually we were trying to promote that very site. So this is something that needs to be addressed at the Government of India level also. Particularly the process is one, and second thing is also the charges that are being taken for shooting of films. Unlike many other countries, what we know little of, is that they actually are more proactive, and instead of charging money, they end up sometimes paying money to a film shooter, a producer, to shoot at their archaeological site, so that wider audience all over the world knows that. And we are actually in some, I think we are slightly behind what is expected of us. And we are creating a lot of obstacles to live producers for when it comes to shooting of films from the procedure point of view. Now, as a state, we are doing all we can, but I guess at the level of Government of India, Archaeological Survey of India, similar organizations should also match our, our pace and our intent.
Thank you. So that brings us back to Kalyani ma'am. So we've just heard that, the FFO is facilitating, as Dileep said, has made his life much easier. But what are the next steps to make the process even simpler than it is now?
Nitin had talked about, thank you for all your views. Mr. Ward, I look forward to your TV series because I really enjoyed the book one hell of a lot. So it should be good fun, and I think I look forward to the next few years of engagement with the TV show. And just to clarify your thing on whether the incentives would be available for TV shows and web series, yes. The way we have planned it, it would be available for co-productions and shootings for web series also, TV shows and web series also. So you should be waiting to once we release the policy, you can do it. On what Nitin had said about the Archaeological Survey of India, Vikramjit, I think in April we have done the testing. It is fully integrated with our FFO portal. So we should be able to get the permission sooner than later. On the costing of it, of course, all of us have to make a living. I will put it across to including the Archaeological Survey of India, because maintenance of the, it's a very ancient civilization that we have, and Odisha has some of the best sites which is there. So if we can share the cost or whatever with us, we'll certainly take it up with the Archaeological Survey of India. Vikramjit, would you like to tell more about what we are going ahead with the FFO plans with the FFO?
We'll come to you, Vikram, in a second. I think Pravesh has something to say.
Yes, firstly, when we're talking about ASI, I've had various experiences with the ASI ma'am, and Vikram and the FFO have been always helpful. But the problem in their rules and regulation is they only allow you to shoot sunrise to sunset. That's been there since 1950, that they have never changed their policy. You can't get in. And if my director wants a sunrise shot, which we've been talking at the Goa Film Festival for many years, and there was one person who was trying to, the DGSI was trying to get it through, but it's never happened. So when we are trying to get this policy, Vikram, like you being helpful in all the other things, I would say that we would like this permit time to be extended. It should not be sunrise to sunset, because if a director needs a sunrise shot, we can't get in at 6:30 and expect him with all the camera gear to get his shot. And what Vikram and FFO been doing, I think, ma'am, we need to further educate the other ministries who are working hand in hand, with us. Even if the ministry, like Dileep just said, that if Ministry of INB does give us the permission, there we are going after various consulates, and some consulates unfortunately don't even know what an F visa is. And then we have to request Vikram and his office, who have to then call up the consulate, who are very efficient. Then they call up the consulate, and then they come back to us. So all that process, I think the FFO, which is doing a great job, needs to further see that it's all streamlined. Because
absolutely,
we not
very important.
And then when a person comes here, there's a rule that you don't need to inform an FFRO office. Suppose you are shooting in a small city, there is no FFRO office there. what does my crew member do? When he gets to Bombay airport or Delhi airport, he's harassed by the immigration that you have not informed the FFRO office. So all these things need to be, Vikram is looking into it. We've had various discussions with him in Bombay and Delhi and keep in touch with him and his office. But I think a lot, like Dileep is saying, a lot has been done and a lot needs to be done. Today also the Honorable Minister was talking about a single window. When you go to, a lot needs to be done. Vikram is on it and I'm pretty sure we are going to get to it very soon.
Thanks, Pravesh. Vikram, over to you. All eyes on you.
First of all, I must thank Kalyani ma'am for giving us a sense of empowerment, and I think for motivating us to take a lot of ownership. I want to acknowledge that. I also want to acknowledge the kind of support and learning that I've had from Pravesh, Sahni and from Dileep Singh Rathore. I want to acknowledge the support that we've got from Nitin who's come in and participated with us at the Film Bazaar, and we've learned a lot that can be done at a state level. Michael, I assure you that the biggest factor that you will face in today's narrative, just like a film narrative, I think the narrative in India has changed significantly, and that narrative is ownership. So we take complete ownership. I want to bring you to speed on certain issues. Pravesh ji, you'll be happy to know that the F visa has been relaxed. There is an FRRO. You go when there's a window, and I'll send you.
Vikram, can you expand what's an F visa and what's an FRRO?
Okay, I'm sorry. The F visa is the film visa. It is a unique creation of the government of India that allows any international filmmaker, including cast and crew, to come to India once they have got filming permission. So far, from 2016, around 1,000 odd F visas have been issued to various international cast and crew members, including directors, producers, etc. This also enables you to bring in the equipment that you want to come, and then you, of course, take it back. So this F visa now has been modified to first of all include location recce. So when the minister, if you apply to us separately for location recce and subject to the approval of the Ministry of I&B, an F visa can be granted to you. So that's one step further easing filming. Second, there is a registration body which all foreigners who come to India have to go and get themselves registered, and they have to do it in a certain time period. That has also been relaxed by the Ministry of Home Affairs. What Kalyani ji was talking before, and the point was of integration. So we have integrated with the Ministry of Home Affairs to talk on, to kind of liberalize the F visa. Pravesh ji, I will get back to you with the time period on the FRRO requirement. It has been modified, and if there is any further modification that you seek, we shall take it up to the good offices of the Joint Secretary Film. Now to come to the ASI, I want to quickly bring you to the point that the FFO has been able to integrate fully with the Archaeological Survey of India from an online perspective. Bhul Bhulaiya 2 was the first film that got its permission through this process of integration. We are also on the verge of integrating. We are very, very close to integrating with the Ministry of Railways. We have, through the good offices of Kalyani ji, moved an integration proposal with the Ministry of External Affairs, which will further help the issuance of visas. We have also moved for an integration with the Animal Welfare Board. This is at a central level. We have in fact reached out to Pravesh ji as well as Dileep ji and the other line producers and production service companies that handle international production in India to talk about drones and how we can ease filming with drones in India. So there is a huge effort. We recognize that there is a that we need to kind of make it easy on the ground for people to shoot. So that's the central level. At the state level, we are working again very closely with Kalyani ma'am to kind of figure out a uniformity of application. In fact, Nitinji, we will be approaching you very soon so that a unified web portal design, which has a unified template, can actually be floated across to all the states, so that when you interface with the state from a digital perspective, you get uniformity. So we're also looking at the pushing of the creation of the film cell. You'll be happy to know that we've done, we take each region in India very, very seriously. We've had a wonderful experience with Sikkim and Nagaland, where we are trusting the Northeast to develop their film cells. We've had conversations down south. And all this is being done with the administration of Tamil Nadu. And all this has been done with the industry. So there's a huge industry engagement, be it the Film Federation of India, be it the Guild, be it the South Indian Film Chamber of Commerce. So it's a joint, it's a humongous joint effort being made, kind of a 360-degree effort being made to kind of ease filming. I'm also being told that very soon we will be looking at, hopefully, there will come a time when the F visa will be available on our site. Kalyani ma'am has been pushing us for that, and we've made a direction on that front. In terms of further integrations, as I said, the more we integrate, the more we bring the states onto our fold, the more we understand them, the more conversations that we have in our workshops. Pravesh ji has been there, Nitin ji has been there, and Dileep. Michael, we would love to have you come in and present, hopefully this year at the bazaar, and kind of talk about your project. We want an environment and an ecosystem, Naman, where each of the states come in and pitch. You know, that hunger to get a project should be there. And once the incentives are launched, we think it will kind of take it to a different level altogether.
Thanks, Vikram. So, Michael, coming back to you for a second. When you are, a lot of people are not aware that the FFO is not just about international productions coming to India. It's also about helping Indian productions in India. So, was Bomberia shot before that happened, or was it, or did you make use of the FFO in any way?
Yeah, it was shot all in Mumbai before this was put in place.
Okay.
So we were on the old template.
Okay, so coming back to you, Vikram, you briefly mentioned Bhool Bhulaiya 2. Can you mention some of the other Indian productions that the FFO has helped to shoot within India?
Sure. There's, I think last year's biggest hit, Bigil, was a film that we helped in Delhi, and we got them airport permissions. See, what is happening is that filmmakers are now kind of wanting to experiment beyond the state. And, you know, narratives are getting universal. The film language is getting universal. So a lot of the domestic filmmakers are experimenting with going to different states, and that's where they're kind of leveraging us. So Bigil, Satellite Shankar, there's, you know, that's another Hindi film that we've helped. Chale Chalo, which is Nikhil Advani production that is happening, all the border areas. So the model, Naman, that we've kind of adapted is talk to us very early on, and I think that's what Pravesh, that's what we did with the bear. I remember with Dileep, it was again very early on conversation. So Michael, we would love to have the conversation with you now, so that we understand what's the lay of the land. See, the advantage of the Film Facilitation Office is a mix of people that we have. There are people who've been with NFDC, and there are people like us who've come from the industry. And hence, the understanding of the ecosystem from the industry perspective, as well as the ecosystem from the government perspective is there. So we're getting into scripts very early. We're trying to figure out what the script is demanding, because today, as you would know, Naman, you're a film watcher and you're a film critic. You would know that film narratives are just not about the hero and the heroine. It's a lot got to do with locations. So when that comes in, we're trying to understand that it's just not the location, but what is the kind of paraphernalia that is, that comes with that location. So translated to permissions, translated to the ecology, translated to the environment, translated to other kind of impacts that that filming in a particular location can have. So it is this dynamic that is allowing us to get into scripts early. We've told producers, we keep telling our production service companies, we keep telling our domestic filmmakers that come to us early, we'll be able to help you. In fact, with Nikhil Advani, we had a complete rundown with MA Productions in terms of where they wanted to shoot, how they wanted to shoot, which were the working areas. So therefore, for us also, you know, it has been a kind of a study, and it has been a kind of an evolution. As I said, you know, it's a journey, and that is kind of evolving and evolving for the better.
And
But we take full ownership. Naman, I guarantee full ownership on behalf of the team, and with the kind of support that we get from the Ministry of I&B, there is a huge amount of ownership.
Naman, 1 second.
Yeah, Dileep.
Yeah, so I'm like, just wanted to bring the same question again, that all the things are like really improving, and Ms. Roy, you've been like fantastic and have phone, because we see this change drastically towards positivity. But there's what I was saying is the coordination between each department, not only the location and the infrastructure there and government support there, but from one department to another, whether it's like we had huge issues with the custom. And I want to bring these points is that we can address these points in future with any other projects, say. So larger films like Tenet or Shantram or anything like that, they bring a lot of crew and they bring a lot of equipment. So when we talk about a small film, it's easy, and you know, locations are easy, but larger, what we are trying to attract and what we work on, particularly Pravesh and myself, are the larger productions coming from Hollywood studios. They come with a lot of challenges, and they come and demands a lot. To satisfy their demands is the key thing. Like they come like the full plane full of equipment coming, or 150 crew coming, or each step we won those challenges. But to have a proper coordination, so we don't lose time and this anxiety with this international producers. They have like a lot of worries about coming to countries like India, which is like we are trying, and you guys have been like really, really helpful to resolve those issues. But again, if we can start, you know, addressing those problems, whether it's aviation permissions, whether it's a drone permission, whether it's a custom, which is one of the biggest problems. We almost could not shoot actually, if not for like, you know, getting the things. And I was sitting in the custom for almost 24 hours to get the equipment out. So these kind of the coordination between the department to department and getting that mechanism easy. And all these people understanding that film shooting, bringing these projects to India is a business, should be business as usual. That's what I'm trying to say.
Thanks, Dileep. Pravesh, did you have
Can I just respond?
Yes,
Mr. Rathore, your point is well noted that you have put through a lot of the thing. My apologies for it. We are trying to get things together to streamline it so that the FFO becomes the one-stop shop. So, but I would also request the filmmakers to plan their visit at least, 2-3 months in advance, because, you know, sometimes you do come across a lot of situations. Like I remember for Tenet, we had to get you your permissions, reaching out at the highest level in the Ministry of Defense. I'm sure absolutely. I was just putting out those. Yeah, every country, no country will be able to give permissions of sensitive areas or the sensitive permissions that are required overnight. So my request is that from my side, yes, we will try our level best. From my side, I would also expect the industry, if it is an application that has to be done, please give us also time to react to it. You are not going to plan a film shooting overnight.
No, we did not. And we did all the applications on time. And I must say that was a miracle what you guys did. But we did all the permission almost like 3-4 months before. And there was like, it was not from the FFO side or not from, it's the communication to the certain agencies that they also understand the filmmaking process. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's an educational process for those agencies, whether it's a DGCA or whether it's a custom or whatever. So for them to understand the importance of to get the permission in a timely manner. So for them to bring them to the same page like us, like the importance of filmmaking. And if it comes from your office, it makes a lot more difference than we going to the people and trying to put our point when it comes from your office, which carries a lot more weight and things can be done much more easier.
There is a reply to what Mr. Sahni had asked. for each film, the requirement with regard to the ASI question, it says for each film, the requirements are unique. I would like to recommend the concept of a film officer who works hand in hand with the producer and the authorities to make sure each of them understand each other. This is with regard to Mr. Sahni's question with the ASI permission being available from this thing. This is from one of my officers who has worked, Alok Kapoor from NFDC, who keeps shooting these customized productions for various entities. So he is advising that this kind of a thing can be appointed for.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am,
one more question I had, when do you think you will be able to allow us with some permits shooting in this year? Would it be, are we looking at September? Are we looking at August? Are we looking at October? Because like you just said, we need to plan our year and we need to inform our producers in LA or UK that when do we think that with restrictions we'll be able to shoot here?
See, many of the states have already started the restrictions, but I'm not too sure the flights have started from outside. So once the aviation sector opens up, we can do those things, provided, because Maharashtra has got its own SOPs issued in place. Uttarakhand has come out with its SOP only yesterday or day before yesterday. So the SOPs are there, and it's a question of your aviation sector allowing for it. And of course, the quarantine restrictions are also there, that you'll have to plan for that mandated quarantine period for entering into the country and exiting country. So that needs to be kind of factored in when you are doing it, if you want to shoot it. But I'm looking at maybe September, maybe Dashera, this thing. Yeah, because the curve has to flatten also. No? Your producers also will not be wanting.
Yeah, everybody needs to be comfortable.
Yeah, comfortable with that.
One more question I wanted to add when Dileep was talking about importing equipment, film equipment. There's a section which in the custom 194C, which has been there since again 1950. Nobody has ever tried to reframe it or re-look into it. It still talks about just the camera equipment which was with the films. Now we've gone digital, plus like Dileep is saying, and the problems, when we are doing a movie which is being shot overseas and here, even the wardrobe is a part of props. But here the customs don't consider that as a part of props and like to put duty on it. So we'd like the Vikram to, frame these things and go up to the custom board to get these things done now that filming happens, especially when we talk about come and film in India, their props, there should be no duty on their props and costumes and equipment which has to go back. Anything which is consumed while shooting, definitely the Indian government should charge duty, and we are for it. Nothing should be free, but what comes in and goes out as per the government policy, we should be allowed to import anything required to film a movie which is going back in that period.
Point taken, Pravesh. We'll move on this. In fact, we've suggested a new couple of policy changes to the ASI. In 2016 is when, or probably 2015, at the Film Bazaar is when the then DG ASI who would come in, and there were certain changes, and Pravesh, you were a part of that, where we also recommended that in the monuments that require special care, there should be a film officer. So that was something which is documented, and again, as I said, we'll move this to the offices of Kalyani.
Yeah, he documented, and he was very helpful. I did a movie called Victoria and Abdul where we were shooting in Taj Mahal. So he was helpful, but there was the concerned officer at that level in Agra didn't want to accept it.
We'll move that, Pravesh, to the offices of the...
I think once things get better, we could have a, again, a panel discussion or come and see you in the office or something. We're all being, we have time, like ma'am is saying, September, October, and right now is June.
So we are running out of time. So I'd like to end with, there's another question about how many days Yeah, do we need, which Kalyani ma'am has answered, how many days do we need to apply for the permissions for shoot? And the answer is at least 2 months if you are planning to shoot in sensitive or border areas. So coming back to you, Kalyani ma'am, now you were at Berlin and you're at the Berlin Film Festival at the India Pavilion, and you're here at the Cannes Virtual Pavilion. So what post-pandemic, what efforts is the government taking to attract international shoots to India?
One is the champion services sector. We will be announcing it sooner than later. I said this in Berlin also, but post-Berlin, it kind of the pandemic started, but we have actually gone ahead from what we were in Berlin. So that should happen sooner than later. The SOPs will be in place for, protected shooting and safe shooting of these things. And the FFO, I wanted to make it into a one-stop shop so that the film visa that people apply becomes, the visa that is there, because as on date, the permission is taken from the Ministry of IMB and then the visa application is there. I'm trying to integrate it with the external affairs so that the application itself, the producer or the filmmaker only has to come back for the visa. He doesn't have to upload fresh. So I'm trying to do that. So all the back end stuff, whatever can be done, should be done in the next 2-3 months. So let's hope for the best.
I think that's a very positive note on which to end this lovely discussion. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, everyone across the world who has participated. And see you soon.
Thank you.